Hey everybody, this is Big D here on Big D's Fig Farm. Today's May the 7th, 2025. I've now moved all of my fig trees up here onto my deck. Makes it easier for watering. One of the lessons I learned is if you set your pots on the ground, this is what I learned last year. I had a lot of my pots all over the yard just trying to make it look better and not so cluttered up here on the deck. I believe it or not, I'll show you in a minute, but I had even more trees last year trying to dwindle this down. But I learned something about when you put a pot on the ground, the roots of the tree will go right through the holes in the bottom of the pot down into the ground. And I mean, if you leave them there all summer long, they will go a foot, 2 foot down. And it's, number one, it's hard to get them back up, and you have to cut those roots off, which causes some slowing down to the tree. Some of them didn't recover between the winter, and I think that took them out. I lost several from doing that. So, I mean, I think one of the things I've learned is I'm going to keep them on the deck because the roots can't go through my deck. So, kind of keeps the roots contained to the pot. And I think it's just better for the health of the tree, period, until you decide to plant it in ground, and then they go where they want to go. But I'm going to show you some of the progression that's happening now. Here we are still very early in May. It's very early in the season, but things are really starting to look cool. So some of the plants are putting on figlets and starting to come alive around here. So I thought I'd show you some of that. So here we are. I mean, I'm also experimenting with water trays under some of them to catch some of the water, because some of these, the material, the medium I've used in them drains so well that during the heat of the summer, the problem I ran into last year is I would water them and a lot of the water would just run right through. Now they say, slow drip is better. It saturates and soaks the pots and the medium better, but I don't have that system. And so I'm trying to think of a way I'm hoping that the idea is that they sit in a little tray with a little bit of water, they can reabsorb the water back up through the bottom holes, back into the plant, into the soil. I don't want it too deep because I don't want to be drowning them. So they don't like too excessive amount of water, but it can get hot here to dry out quick. But anyway, I'm experimenting with that. But you look down here on this one, see right down here, you can see what I was talking about, the roots. That's a pencil-sized root right there. Had come through and gone down into the ground, because that one was out in the yard last year. And a couple of these, I mean, there were substantial roots coming through the bottom of the pots. And so I'm trying to avoid that this year, because a couple of them I think it really did hurt. That's Negre de Agde. That is a great fig. It's delicious. Again, they call it the cherry Twizzler fig because it tastes like a cherry Twizzler. But it is, I've got one in the ground too, and it made out fairly well. I'd say 50% or 75% of the wood of the one in ground last year survived this bad winter and is doing okay. This one I had in the shed or in the greenhouse, I'm not sure which, but you can see here it's a very prolific variety. Puts a lot of figs on, and you see little figs there growing, several figs there on that limb, and the same thing on a couple other limbs. So Negre de Agde would definitely be producing for me, and it does a good job. They're delicious. I told you a little bit about the two capris that I got. They're male figs. Something I just saw about last year, a couple videos on, that you can take these male figs and you can't eat them. They're not edible, I don't think. But you open them and you extract the pollen that's in them, and you mix it with some water solution. And I got these needles, and I would go and inject them into the figs, much like a fig wasp would do, and it pollinates them. And for like a Smyrna or San Pedro figs, which only give you breba crop, not main crop, because they need to be pollinated, you can get some of them. Now, obviously, you're not going to do that to thousands of figs. So, but some people do it. Say even do it on figs that will ripen for you, because it will enhance the flavor and all that. So I'm going to do some playing around with that. That was just a project just for fun. I don't tend to do it extensively, but I have two of those, trying to get a male fig or two to try to do that with. So this is Figo Preto, and you can see the winter was very hard on it. It did not do very well, and pretty much all we have right now for hope for this variety this year is right there. That one little teeny sprout. But that's the case on a couple I've got, actually, at this point. This is my Colonel Littman's Black Cross. And I thought it was dead. I mean, I mean, you can look, the wood looks dead. But yesterday I was walking out there, checking on my plants in the graveyard, and there we got a new growth coming up from the bottom. So I up potted him a little, because I already had taken him out of the pot. And we're going to see what that does, see if it comes back or not. But we got some figs here on Floria. It's got some figlets on. Looking around, my Smith's coming back pretty well, looking good. And by the way, top shelf figs. Smiths are incredible tasting figs. My in-ground starting back over from the ground up, which a lot of mine are in ground. Well, about half of them actually. So, and I've got some of these, about 21 of these varieties you see up here on my deck, I've never tasted before. I've never even had a fig off of them. And so I get to try a lot of these figs this year for the first time, hopefully, if they produce. That's going to be the question, if they produce. But some of them have some figs on there. They're all looking good though. Nice and green up here on the deck, and I've got a couple Black Madeira, Delson, Wyoming Grands, all good figs. This is a La Magdalene. Never had one of those, but I believe I'm going to get some this year to try. So I've never had a fig off of them. It's got some really small figs starting on there. They're just getting rolling. Peter's honey here looks really nice. Got me some vegetables too. I don't normally do that, but I'm trying that this year. Petite Negra, that's a dwarf fig tree. I don't think it'd get much over 6, 7, 8 feet. I got a few figs off it last year. You can see it's got some figs on already. They were pretty good figs, but cherry cordial is a Smyrna fig, meaning it needs pollination to get the main crop. Somebody gave me that in a trade kind of a deal. So raspberry latte, I've never had a fig off of this tree yet, but it's grown pretty well, and I'm not seeing figs on it as of yet either. Keep checking, because you know it can start at any point, but not seeing any yet. I didn't get any last year on this variety either. So, but hopefully we'll get some here very soon and be able to try it. This big boy up here is my Delson Wami, and he's got some figs starting in there. Delson Wami is a top tier fig, called the Don Blanc. I got a couple, matter of fact, I got probably about a dozen off of this last year, believe it or not. This little teeny tree, I had taken some off. It had more height before the winter that didn't get through the winter, didn't make it through. But everybody raves about this one because of its unique consistency of the fig. It's very thick. It's a very thick fig, and dark red interior, green exterior. It's a neat fig, but I'll be doing reviews on all of them again this year as we get ripened figs. But some people have been asking me, you know, hey, can I get this, or can I get a cutting of that, or it's because of the winter and how hard it was, I don't have a lot of wood, and a lot of my trees, as you can see, are still very young, very small, so I don't have a lot of cuttings right now, and I'm still trying to figure out which ones I'm gonna really be specializing in, if you will, when I'm growing in ground. They're the ones that that's where my real energy is. All these other ones are trials. Some of them I'm growing just because I really like them, like Black Madeira. I mean, if you're really a fig enthusiast, it's almost, you know, you got to grow Black Madeira. You got to try to get some anyway. Same thing with Delson Wyoming Grand, in my opinion. They're two, you're like, you got to at least give it a whirl, because they're so good. You got to try. They got to experience that at least once. I thought I had gotten black or Italian 258 several times. This is something I'm noticing too. You see here, When you use mushroom compost, you got all these mushrooms growing. And so I've got lots of mushrooms. That's weird. But anyway, thought I had bought I-258 a couple times, or at least one time, and the I-258 was not an I-258. But I've got several of them going right now that I'm really going to hopefully get to experience this year, eating a good I-258. Everybody talks about the quality of those. All right, well, that's all I'm going to give you for right now. All right, so things are still happening here on Big D's Fig Farm. There's things are coming and starting to look like fig season around here. Can't hardly walk around on my deck for trees, but that's what it is. Talk to you.